Yes, ma'am. Yes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Sam. good? Good morning, everyone. If we can go ahead and gather. Thank you guys for being here for our annual meeting and the first ever simulcast parish meeting. So this is new for all of us to do an annual meeting this way, to present reports and to even vote this way. So we are trying to be as creative as possible, but also to be as both strategic and faithful as possible. Let us begin with prayer. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel at St. John's for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. At this time, I would like to invite Jimmy McLemore, who has been the senior warden during the past year and also the chair of the nominating committee, to present the nominees.
Good morning. Mr. Leach, the nominating committee for vestry members consisted of myself, Virginia Bannister, Mike Jenkins, Richard Bradford, Catherine Daly, Stephanie Norrell, and Todd Westhauser. We are the outgoing members of the vestry. We met and deliberated during the month of December to form a slate of nominees for the consideration by the parish for election to the vestry. Those nominees are Kathleen Bradford, Ellen Habermacher, William Haynes, Cam Hughes, Michelle Shaw, and Wyatt Wells. Mr. Leach, the nominating committee recommends to the parish for election to the vestry those names.
Thank you very much. The ballots have been distributed and are being distributed. Voting will take place during the next half hour. Jimmy, before you sit down, would you guys please recognize Jimmy for his service during the past year? Senior wardens are rarely perfect, and Jimmy is no exception to that. However, he signed up to be the senior warden, and both had to navigate a search process as well as a pandemic, and that's a pretty tall order, and he's handled it and the vestry admirably, and I'm grateful for that. This time, Richard Bradford, who has been elected treasurer, will make the report.
Good morning. Pleased to report that St. John's enters 2021 in good financial condition. There should be attached for your review a balance sheet and income statement and our 2021 budget. As of the beginning of this year, we report total assets of $1,356,640. Our assets consist of cash, and we have nothing but current payroll liabilities. For the past year, total revenues exceeded total expenses by $135,000. We had a budget surplus. Our total revenues were slightly short of our 2020 budget, but despite that, parishioner giving was up $17,000 over budget. We collected more than we expected. The big key that drove our revenues down was a category in our budget called Other Revenues. Other Revenues encapsulates the money we collect when we're here, paying for breakfast, paying for Wednesday night suppers, and things of that nature. Let's see. The upside is that each of those categories had a corresponding expense reduction. Expenses fell under budget in every category. Clergy expense was almost $30,000 less than expected. Administration was down $2,600. Christian formation was under budget by $6,100. Evangelism and hospitality were both under budget by almost $31,000, and worship was below budget by $21,000. Maintenance also below budget, $38,000. Our outreach was slightly below budget, but despite it being below budget, we reached out to the community and gave $313,000 to local charities that are detailed in the annual report. This past Monday, the vestry approved a budget which projected $1,753,807 in revenue and $1,767,000 in expenses, resulting in a deficit budget of $13,986. This budget was adopted but has since been revised based on some new pledges that came in during the week. Proud to report that, as is our tradition, in your annual report is a balanced budget. Revenues equal expenses. Our budgeted revenue is actually $65,000 less than prior year. Parishioner giving makes up $39,000 of that total. The reason for this deficit in parishioner giving is a downward adjustment in a category we call special offerings. Special offerings are gifts that are given to the parish unplanned and unexpected throughout the year. We had a budget of $125,000 last year, which we fell short of. Over the past 4 years prior to that, our budget has been right around 50, so we have downward adjusted that category to be more consistent with what we've done in the past. Other revenues, the same category we discussed before, have also been reduced to account for the fact that we will be ramping up church usage over the next 12 months, but aren't meeting and gathering and having breakfast and meals together like we're accustomed to. Total expenses for the coming year are budgeted to be $67,000 less than they were last year. There are reductions of $81,000 from staffing changes and the elimination of one-time expenses associated with the clergy search. We have elected not to seek an additional clergy member in 2021. The logic behind that is for 2020, we had 2.5 clergy people. We had the rector, Jamie as full-time, and Deanna as a part-time clergy staff. She's been elevated to full-time, so for the time being, we'll have 2 full-time as opposed to 2.5 full-time employees. We also eliminated a maintenance position that was specifically hired to assist with special events. Since we're not having special events, that was deemed prudent to eliminate that for now, while at the same time budgeting for a replacement of that person should the church require it in the latter half of the year. Total outreach has reduced very slightly over prior year, but we are budgeting to give away $309,000. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Richard. Are there any questions? He's trying to get away before there are questions. pretty straightforward. Thank you, Richard. I'm going to move on to my report, and I'm going to come back and reference some of the things that Richard talked about in the budget. But I want to start by simply saying, give or take maybe a handful of weeks, but not many, about a year ago this time, I received a letter from St. John's, Montgomery that said something like, your name has been given to us for consideration to be the next rector of St. John's. If you're interested, please do these next steps. And with it was this really, really elaborate, beautiful profile. Very, 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 very nicely done profile. And one of the things that stood out on the profile was a picture about if Charlie were to step out in the aisle, a picture probably from about there of the angels and the altar and stained glass windows, and then just an incredibly stunning picture. And I read the profile, and we talked about it, and I knew about St. John's. I knew friends who knew about St. John's. I knew clergy who had been at St. John's. And so I said, well, I think maybe I should consider it. I think we should look at it. And so we did. And through what now is a common process, but at the time a very unconventional process of getting to know each other over phone calls and Zoom, and finally coming to Montgomery and meeting at the ballpark with masks. I believed deeply in my heart, and still do, that this has very much been a call that has been led by God's Spirit to bring us together to this place, and I am very, very grateful for that. Your hospitality, your welcome has been exceeded any reasonable expectations of what that might look like. Unfortunately, it's meant that I've gained probably 20 pounds since being here, and I'm working that off because you guys really have fed us beautifully and fed us well, and we're grateful for that. There's not any class or playbook, just like in your professions and in your lives, whether you're a teacher or a banker or an attorney or a finance person or whatever you might do in life, there really weren't any playbooks for what to do in the case of a pandemic. We've all learned how to adapt and how to adjust. And St. John's had done a whole lot before I got here, and we've had to do even more to adapt and adjust to live into what it looks like to have a pandemic. We have blue tape on our pews. We live stream, and a year ago, if you'd gone to Episcopal churches and said live stream, we'd all been snooty about it and said, no way, we're never doing that. But we do that now. We do it with regularity. It's changed how we do pastoral care. It's changed how we meet. It's changed how we teach. It's changed how we receive the sacraments. And that's not lost on anyone. It's certainly not lost on me. It's changed how we budget. It's changed how we project revenue. It's changed how we calculate expense. It's changed how we staff. It has affected everything. But what I hope it has not affected, and what I pray every single day, is that it has neither affected our passion and our love for God and our passion and our love for each other. And maintaining that when we can't always be together and can't always do the things that make us comfortable is a challenge, but I believe that you guys have handled it beautifully, and for that I'm incredibly grateful. We have made some staffing decisions, as you guys know. Rather unexpectedly, Libby Poole retired in the fall. Heather Herring has come in. Heather brings with her public accounting experience, but also specifically client management experience with local churches, including Episcopal churches, and she has jumped in. And as you might imagine, if you come into a role that someone else has occupied for 25 plus years, there's a lot of untangling. because they've developed a system. By the way, I've also done that. Robert was here 25 years, so we've done a whole lot of untangling what was done and what was done well in order that we can do it and we can do it well, but we're not those same people. And Heather has done that admirably. In the same way, Richard has had to do that. Helen Wells also told me about 3 days after being here that she had tried to retire 3 times. Robert would not let her, and that she, by golly, was going to retire. And so she did, and we are grateful for that. And I'm going to come back to Helen in a minute. But Richard has stepped in and handled that admirably. But we've all been reorganizing and reorienting how those operations work. And that is not in any way a criticism of the past. It's simply an acknowledgement that we've had to create ways and processes and infrastructure to allow us to work and to function as a pretty dynamic organization. And I think we've done that remarkably well because of the people who are in place to have done that. Is Heather here? Heather's not here. Heather's in the other building. She's not in here. Okay. Also, we had to say goodbye to Jamie. We didn't want to, but Jamie felt called to do a chaplaincy with the United States Air Force. Ironically, he is locked down at Maxwell down the street for 8 weeks, and he can't leave the base. He moved to Nebraska, and now he's back for 8 weeks of training, chaplaincy school. And we've tried to get him here. We can't get him here. But we've said goodbye to him, and that put us in a discernment process, and I invited Deanna to come on board full time. If I don't do anything else for the next 25 years, that's going to be probably the most brilliant thing I did. So remember that when I screw up. But I am grateful that she said yes and that she has joined us full time. And it is she makes a heck of a team, and I think we complement each other well. And she loves you, and she loves this place, and she loves the Lord, and I think that's good. So thank you, Deanna. I want to talk about the past and the future in 2 ways that are going to impact this coming year. The past, if you look around all these stained glass windows, I have a report sitting on my desk. I think it's from 2003. It's about a 150-plus page report from a stained glass consultant who came in and said, here's the conditions of your windows, here's the priorities in which they should be addressed, here's what we would do. The result of that was the repair of this window and that window. And that was important, and those were listed as the priorities. Also listed, and I think this report's 2003 if I'm remembering correctly, also listed were all the Perry Street windows, and those, the report said, should be repaired in the next 3 to 5 years. They weren't repaired in that time frame, and those are still the Perry Street windows and still in need of repair. These windows are in need of repair. Most of our stained glass windows are in need of pretty drastic repair. The lead is given out, there's buckling, there are cracks. The weight of the windows are putting pressure on the glass, which is resulting in damage to the glass. If you go look at them carefully, you can see the bowing, you can see the cracks from, and most of them need some kind of repair, although I'm not a stained glass expert. So we have invited a company that does stained glass windows, and they're very highly recommended by several cathedrals, to come do an evaluation on our windows, an up-to-date evaluation on the stained glass windows and the condition. And one of the things that we are charged with are being good stewards of our history, of being good stewards of our past. And folks have given these windows to St. John's to remember those that they love, and to share part of the biblical story through the memory of those people. And we have to be stewards of that. And the bad news is that old stuff gets old and it needs fixing. The good news is I believe that you all will have both the heart and the will and the generosity to make sure that we can do that. So we have some people coming down to give us an evaluation and report to prioritize the projects and get those done. If we don't do it, there are windows that if we don't do it, they will be beyond repair. And they will cave in or crash, and then they won't be able to be repaired. So we have to do it before it gets to that point. And there are about 4 of them that are close to that. So you'll hear more about those. That's a project for this year, and I'll make sure and keep you on board with that. The second thing is about the future. I have invited Mary Palmer, who currently lives at Sewanee and works through the seminary and the School of Theology at Sewanee with her program called Invite, Welcome, Connect. She used to be in Texas, a staff member at the Diocese of Texas, and she created this program which is about invitation for people to come into the church, to be invited into this community of faith. It is about a welcome, and that is what we do to receive them when they are here, from what we do when they walk in the door to their confirmation or their reception or their baptism, perhaps, to how we then involve them in ministry and in leadership at St. John's. It is. I've used the different the parts of the program. It's more of a culture than it is a program, and we'll do a lot of educating. But that will be the focus of the vestry retreat this year, and it will be the focus of the vestry. The vestry will be realigned so that strategically we can address those three areas: invite, welcome, connect, as a way of continuing to nurture God's presence here at St. John's and here in Montgomery. That is necessary. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this just factually, and I'm going to say it without emotion, and certainly it's not a criticism, it's just a fact. We have to get a little bit younger at St. John's, because we're going to have 20% of our population is such that we're going to lose that membership and not be able to replace it if we don't get younger. And the vestry and the search committee were very clear in our strategy that going forward was to attract more young families, and we will use Invite, Welcome, Connect as a means to do that. That is not that doesn't mean that we're going to sacrifice everything else for that, but it means that we have to make that a point of emphasis. St. John's is too special. It's too theologically rich. It's too spiritually giving for us not to be aggressively inviting people into this place to be a part of who we are. And so I am confident in our ability to do that. I said this in the written report, and I'm just going to offer this, and then we're going to move on to the Helen Wells Award. Change is hard. Change is hard. I have come here, and that's been a change. You've had somebody here. We've named at least 3 prominent leaders of the parish who are here 25 plus years who are not here. We are in the midst of a pandemic. We've had to change. We've had to adapt. Change is challenging. I get that. But I hope that you will always, when that feeling of anxiety comes when something is different, that you always just kind of take a second to breathe and realize that the change is rarely a criticism of anything that was ever done before. That change typically is, I believe, in a church community, the way in which God is nudging us to move. And I find that's usually grace-filled if we allow that to happen. And it doesn't have to be significant, big, giant changes. It's just being nudged by the grace of God. And I'll talk more about that in the sermon in a few minutes. You get 2 for 1 today. You get the address and a sermon. So I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But I hope that you will always remember that when something makes you feel a little bit anxious, to take a big, deep breath and to just ask the question, is it possible that this is God nudging me? And perhaps it could be. Last part of our meeting before we announce the results of the ballot. In honor of Helen's retirement as treasurer, 25 years, I don't know. I don't know every Episcopal church in the world, but I'm willing to bet you that there are very, very few, if any, other Episcopal churches who have had a volunteer treasurer for 25 years. You all were blessed to have that kind of consistency and that kind of leadership. You all know Helen. She is an incredible, inspirational woman. She is has incredible integrity, strength of character, charisma, and love for St. John's, and a deep passion for Montgomery and for Alabama, which I understand that her family founded half of Alabama, but she loves it, and that's important. But she gave, and didn't have to. She didn't have to give 25 years to St. John's, and she did, and that's incredible. And so one of the things that I asked the vestry to support me in was the initiation of a brand new award that will be given out annually at the parish meeting, and that is the Helen Crump Wells Lay Ministry Award. And here are some of the qualifications or disqualifications for the award. You have to be a layperson, you cannot be on staff, and you cannot be in an elected position, because that's kind of cheating. You mean an appointed position, but you can't really be a vestry person. So, because they're supposed to work. So, no extra recognition for you guys. But it's intended to give to somebody who has demonstrated an incredible commitment over a period of time to lay ministry, leadership, faithfulness to St. John's. And so I'm going to ask Charlie Harris to come up for a minute to join me. Charlie ain't getting the award, but he could. We have to do this virtually, so y'all bear with us for 1 minute.
Fred, how you doing?
I'm good, man.
All right.
St. John's, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're glad to see you.
Okay, you hold on to that for him, and I'll do this. The first ever recipient of the Helen Crump Wells Lay Ministry Award is Fred Tyson. Hey, Fred, congratulations. You don't say anything?
Thank you so much. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Well, I'm going to put the microphone where you can just say hello, but, one of the reasons you got this award, one of the reasons you won me over, although, I'm a Mississippi boy, is when you stood up for the stewardship address and you said, I'm not supposed to say this, but roll Tide.
Yeah. Well, I guess I got some votes on that one, huh?
Yeah.
Good. Well, hey, thank you very much. I'm honored. I'm really honored by this, and I can't thank you enough. It means so much to me. St. John's means so much to me, and all the great work that's done there. So I'm humbled, and I'm obviously caught off guard.
Well, we thank you for all your service and all your ministry, and we send our love and our prayers and wish you nothing but goodness.
Thank you very much. I feel the love and we feel the prayers, and we thank everyone there so much, and send the same back to you all. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we've already done that. I'm not going to list all of Fred's accomplishments, but you guys, Fred has served in every possible role at St. John's, warden, both warden, junior warden, senior warden, on every single committee, has been an anchor. I think he was on the search committee 25 years ago, 26 years ago. He has just done incredible amount of service, both to St. John, not only to St. John's, but also in the larger community, as you all well know. And he is certainly deserving. You also know that he is in Birmingham receiving treatment and for cancer, and we continue to send our prayers and our love to him. He's got a hard road in front of him, and so he needs our support and our love, and I'm grateful for all of you joining us in that. And he's well deserving of this award, so thank you very much. All right, right before we finish, and I think we're on time to finish, I'll announce the results of the election. Having received a plurality of votes, those elected to the vestry for a 3-year term, beginning in 5 minutes when we go meet in the parish house, are Kathleen Bradford, Ellen Habermacher, William Haynes, Cam Hughes, Michelle Shaw, and Wyatt Wells. Congratulations and thank you, guys. Lastly, one of the things I told the search committee when they asked, why did you look at St. John's and what was important when you looked at St. John's? And I said to them, we need a place that when my girls think of God, when they think of church, they'll think of the people at St. John's, that they will be raised by a community. And that has proven to be true. They haven't been here in a few weeks because we got a little broken leg in our family, but they will be back. But they, especially Poppy, knows that this is a place that she can come and be herself. And a 2.5-year-old, I trust almost all 2.5-year-olds' intuition. She gets it. And this is the place for all of us where we should be able to come and be ourselves and be loved by one another and be who God called us to be. Not just for my children, but for your children, for your lives, and for the lives of all those who are not yet in this place. So thank you very much for that. God bless. The meeting is adjourned. Good job, man.